The Maimer Yehuda Ato Yeducha Achecha. First Maimer Parshas Vayechi from Torah Ohr. The brachas that Yaakov is giving, just do a summary. We're in the middle of this Maimer. We'll do a brief summary. The days of Yaakov's life, he's feeling that they're coming to an end, so to speak. Although we're told Yaakov Avinu Leimes, he's saying his final words to his sons. When it comes to Yehuda, who by the way was expecting to be seriously reprimanded from his father for the sale of Yosef and etc. However, he tells him, Yehuda Ata Yur Yehuda, your brothers are going to acknowledge you, implying that you're going to be king and the royalty is going to be from Yehuda's descendants. I mean, Mashiach is from there, David is from there, and so on and so forth. But what I was discussing in this Maimer is the term Yehuda means acknowledgement. Yehuda was named Yehuda by Leah, his mother, because she was acknowledging Hashem that now she has a fourth son. And by the Yidden, in the general collective of the Jewish soul, it represents the concept of acknowledgement and recognition and thanks to Hashem.
I got a question.
Yeah.
What is it? Because we haven't got to any of the real great part of Yehuda. What did Yaakov see in Yehuda at that early stage that he was going to have this schus?
He doesn't get into it here, but in other places it says that Yehuda was someone who, even though he wasn't always perfect,
right,
but he acknowledged what he did and he fixed it.
Okay.
And in a leader, it's more important to have the ability to correct, own up, and improve, as opposed to being flawless. So if it was an act of Yosef, whatever his involvement was, he then later goes and fights and risks his life for Binyamin. He's literally going up against Parai, against Yosef. When there was a story with Tamar, and then he said, it's from me, when he found out that it was her. So there's things that happen, but then afterwards he goes and he says,
"Gotcha,
I'm fixing it." And that, Yaakov says, that's king. I don't need some leader who's can never make a mistake and never fix it, or it's not going to work. And in general, a Yid is not expected to get it right, to be perfect always. He has to grow and improve and fix. But the topic of this Maimer is more of the spiritual significance of what Yehuda represents, what Reuven, Shimon, and Levi represent. So Yehuda is the idea among the Yidden of acknowledgement, bittul to Hashem. We kneel, we bow, and we acknowledge. Now, in this world, we have time and place. It's a creation. And because we're in time, or we're post-creation, and therefore we're under the limits of time, it says, Hapam oiden, now I'm going to acknowledge Hashem. Not always. It's not consistent. Sometimes I could be doing better. But in the collective of the Yid, it's really a constant thing. Now, what does it mean when he says, Hapam oiden, now I'm going to? What happened now that changed it? Now I'm going to acknowledge Hashem. What happened now is I'm post Reuven, Shimon, and Levi. I started with, as he's going to explain, what Reuven represents, and the Avodah of Shimon, and then I came to Levi. Now, says Leah, I can really reach Yehuda. What's the idea? I have Yehuda all along. I'm born with it. It's in my neshama. I have acknowledgement for Hashem. But it's concealed. Typically, it's not revealed. It's not really active. And if I do the Reuven, Shimon, and Levi part of Avodah, now it's revealed. I really came to the Yehuda aspect. To understand this, he explains that Reuven is in the lashon of re'iyah, which means vision, to see. We also said that the Merkava, which is a high revelation of godliness, on the right side you have Pnei Aryeh, which is the lion, same letters as re'iyah, which is vision, to see. So Reuven represents to see. It's the right side, which therefore it's kindness, which is love, giving, etc., etc. Closeness. That's the idea of the Avodah of Reuven. What does it mean in service of Hashem? Avas Hashem. How do you get there? Through seeing. You're not going to see Hashem, but you perceive, you see up and close the involvement of Hashem in this world. And more than his involvement, the fact that the whole entire universe, including the spiritual part of things, all come from Malchus of Hashem. So you're basically recognizing that Hashem is so great that this whole world is a minuscule, it's not even considered anything, but it's made from Malchus of Hashem. Okay. That's why Reuven's flag and his camp was on the right side in the south, because he represents kindness, and that's where he is in the Merkava and so on. Now, how do you get to that Ava? How do you get to this level of seeing, so to speak, greatness of Hashem? That's why Chazal gave us Psukei de Zimra and davening, and Birchas Krishma, which is one of the reasons why Chabad are very careful not to skip chunks of davening to make it to Shema with a minyan. It's very important to daven with a minyan, truly, but not on the expense of davening itself. So we say you should better, if you came late, better catch up and then do Shema on your own than do a less quality Shema, which would mean by skipping Psukei de Zimra. The point is, Psukei de Zimra is here to talk and get the person thinking about the greatness of Hashem, and Birchas Krishma, and then we get to Shema. Now, and he says something which Alter Rebbe brings very often, because the main kavana, the main purpose of relating the praise of Hashem is because knowledge is not enough. And if I speak about it, if I think about it, I'm going to reveal it. Knowledge is, a thief knows Hashem exists, he's actually davening to Hashem before he steals, but it's not active enough that he's not going to steal. There's many, this is a very coarse example, because the guy's stealing. But there's a lot of things like that in life where I know Hashem is here, but I'm still going to do what I feel like doing because I know it, but I don't feel it to the sense that it's affecting me. And that's the goal through Avas Hashem, to reach a level where it's very, very real to me. I feel it, and I'm not going to go against what he wants. How do you get to that? Through relating and talking about the praise of Hashem a lot, and to delve his mind deeply into the concept of Malchus HaMalchus Kol Ilamim. We say this in Ashrei. Your Malchus, meaning the level, the sphere of Malchus, is the Malchus of all the worlds. Literally it means you're in charge. But Kabbalistically it means that all the worlds are only from Malchus. Only is the key here, that is much higher than that, which is not even interacting, so to speak, with the world. In short, when a person is going to be misbeinen about this at great length, he'll reach a level where they'll be revealed and felt in his life the idea of Avas Hashem. He'll actually love Hashem, and as a result, he'll want to attach himself to Hashem to the extent that David HaMelech says until him, Mili b'shamayim v'imcha lechafatzli ba'aretz. I don't want with you, Hashem, implying I want you. With you means Gan Eden, other higher worlds, etc., etc. But that is the what's the right word? I could say I want Hashem, I love Hashem, and therefore I want Gan Eden. So it's shine of Hashem, ray of Hashem, it's all good. But if you really love Hashem, I don't want the side stuff. I want Hashem himself, which sometimes is at the expense of the side stuff. The example is you go to a palace, right? You have an opportunity to go talk to the king. But when you walk in there's a lot of craziness going on. I mean, in a good way. You have orchards and fields and amazing stuff and a lot of ambiance and art and imported rugs. There's a lot of stuff that you could enjoy, and ministers you could talk to. And they're real. They're not just some kind of fake romance, we'll call it, right? It's real stuff. But it's not the king himself. And if you truly love the king, not the experience of royalty, but you truly love the king, you're not going to want any of that stuff, because it's taking away from your direct or your time with the king. And David Malach is saying that to the extent that I don't want the stuff that's with you. All these other things, I want you himself. You yourself. You don't reach that unless you have a real zbainanus about the greatness of Hashem. The grass, whatever we're talking about, Psukei de Zimra, lower stuff, all that is where it's at.
I can only talk for myself, but as a Baal Tshuva, I didn't know all these other trappings, all these other levels. When I became from, all I wanted was whatever I thought God was. I didn't know enough
Right.
to know these other things were there. They're saying that the person knows these other things and still ignores them and just wants the pneumius as the Shem.
Yeah. As he gets there, he says, I want the real thing. I want Hashem himself. The Pasuk says, B'chol levavcha, with all of your heart. Now we know, Ramraz al b'shnei yitzarecha. The real way to say, B'chol libcha, with your whole heart, is libcha. Levavcha is not a real word. It's a word now, because it's in Torah, but there's two vases there. And it implies there's two hearts. Two hearts is shnei yitzarecha, both of your
Inclinations.
yeah. So your Yitzhak and your Yitzhak, the holy part, the godly part, and the animalistic part. That the Ava should be in a level of Baal Tshuva. Why are we saying love Hashem with plural, with both hearts? Because the Ava has to be in a level of a Baal Tshuva. And he says, Baal Tshuva does not necessarily mean someone who did Averes. Baal Tshuva is not just someone who transgressed and now he's doing tshuva. Rather, tshuva means something else, which, by the way, helps us understand the Chassidic approach to tshuva in general. Often a person comes to Elul, to Tishrei, to Sarasvei Tshuva, and it's a very sad time. It's very much, not sad, but scary time, very, very focused on Averes. And then sometimes a person gets to a state where they say, I don't really have Averes, or not the ones that it says in the Siddur, the Machzor. But really, tshuva is not just for Averes. It's, as he's going to say, it's returning to Hashem in a deeper way than we currently are at. Each person has the idea of Baal Tshuva. The idea of tshuva is to return. You're returning the neshama to its root and to its source. It was included in its place where it emanates from, which is Hashem. So the neshama was very high, completely spiritual, part of Hashem, godly, and so on. It came down into this world. The process of tshuva is give the neshama the experiences which bring it back to where it originated from, source. And it was bound in the bound of life, literally with Hashem. The yard of Kveda came down from its glorious place, and it enclosed itself in this physical world. That's the journey that the neshama took. Even all of the spiritual achievements or graspings that you kind of get. Whatever level the neshama is going to reach once it's in a body, it's going to be under the realm of time and place. It didn't have those limitations before it was born, before it came down to a body. So, I was here, he put me here. I'm doing okay, but it's not the same. And the goal is to return the neshama to have that connection to Hashem, which is limitless. How do you return this neshama to Hashem? Through this, they call out to Hashem when it is pained for them or difficult. Tsar means you're confined. So the neshama feels, I'm so like held into this body, and it's calling out to Hashem, I want more of you, or I want to be closer with you. That is the process of tshuva, about tshuva that we're talking about. So I have this yearning, and I'm calling out to Hashem. That feeling is where it's at. That's what it says. I took you out of Eretz Mitzrayim, meaning spiritually, I took you out of this confinement that you have. And through this confinement. Okay, so to understand the whole thing about Yehuda and love, and we're going to get to fear soon, leads to the revelation of this acknowledgement that I have within myself. He says we have to appreciate b'chol levavcha. B'chol levavcha means with both hearts. The Yitzhak and Yitzhak. What's this idea? Why by two? Because the neshama came down into this world, and the goal is to have a level of Baal Tshuva, not necessarily for Averes, but for this idea of returning to Hashem, because we are distant and Hashem was torn away, and now as great as it is, it's still limited. and there's this cry that comes out, and through this cry, where the neshama wants to get closer to Hashem, it experiences that level. Now, Shaydei HaMerirus, through the bitterness that the neshama has, that it's bitter, that it's far away from godliness, Asher Yilei Ala Hipuch, Tigdal Ha'av Hashem B'Yesaseis. The love to Hashem is going to get stronger through the bitterness of the fact that I'm distant. Often when a person is separated from something which is important to them, or a person which they appreciate, it creates a longing, and it fans the flame and creates a deeper love. In a similar manner, the neshama is down here. The fact that it wants to be there makes it love Hashem more. This is similar to the concept of the quality of light which comes from darkness. You have light in general, which is important, a good thing. But then when you have light out of darkness, it's a whole different level. It's a better light because it comes from darkness. Okay, so again, when you have darkness that turns into light, it's a better light than light itself. When the neshama is here, which was a descent, but it has a yearning and it's pained that it wants to be closer to Hashem, it brings out a transformation. The distant, there's a term expression, distance makes the heart speak fonder or something?
Yeah, you're right. It does.
They got it from here. They got it from here. Okay. This is why Chazal tell us in a place where Balei Tshuva stand, greatest tzaddikim can't stand. Why? Because greatest tzaddikim are doing it straight. You don't have the pain element and the yearning element, and therefore you don't have the darkness transformed to light benefit. But a regular person, this is back to the typical Baal Tshuva, the literal Baal Tshuva explanation. Same idea. Because he was somewhere else, and then he found his way and was searching and wanted to go somewhere, that urge does something to the person. Zayar explains this, why Balei Tshuva greater than Tzaddikim Gemurin, the mashkane bechela yater, because they pull with a much greater strength. You're working on it. You're working hard. It's important to you. You're pushing. That whole process takes you to a place that the regular path, untainted, nothing wrong, always the right thing, it won't take you. It's an example of sometimes an addict could be extremely truthful, thorough, deep experiences. They went through a very, very strong soul-searching clarity and different perspective on life because of where they were. The transformation does that to a person. Well, Tshuva has to change and therefore push. There's a whole different energy in him that causes him to be that way. In a similar way, the neshama is like that. To the extent that the chayes of your body and your animal soul, the keicheseyam and their faculties, is hapchu, they get transformed, turned over. The yeshuva Hashem is they return to Hashem and darkness turns into light. Point is, back to our example, the neshama itself, being distant from Hashem, has a certain bitterness. I want to be closer. That it's a drive, and that drive transforms darkness to light, and there's nothing like it. That's what it says. When Reuven was born, Leah said, Hashem saw my pain. What pain are you talking about? Literally, it's the pain that I was the hated wife. Rachel was the loved one. I was duped, so to speak. She's happy about the outcome, but it has some side effects. But here we're talking about pain, that the neshama is pained that it's far from Hashem. Pirush, through my pain and my persecution, kind of, is the bitterness of the soul. This is what happens. The neshama is down here. It has a pain. Through the pain, now my husband's going to love me. which means now I have an ava for Hashem. That switch that happens, we're paralleling Leah's experience, her feeling of why she named him Ruvain, with what that avodah represents for the Yid. That we have a distance, meaning not wanted, or we don't feel the ava. We're bothered by the fact that we don't feel the ava. The neshama is bitter, and that bitterness produces a greater light, a deeper love, and so on. That's Ruvain. So Ruvain is Avas Hashem. What does now? It says like he's going to call me my man, right? Leah is saying that Ruvain, that Yaakov is going to be my man, right? I'm not a secondary anymore. Rachel doesn't have kids. I do. Like I bore him children. The idea of my man is Eish Shali, my fire. In Hebrew, man is fire. Well, the same word, same root as fire. So Ishi is Eish Shali. I'll have this fire, which is a thirst, back to the neshama, from below to above, to connect to Hashem. When Chava was reprimanded after the Chet Eitzadas, Pasuk says, "Vel ishech tshukasech." Your yearning or your desire, your thirst is going to be to your man. That he's in charge. It's the idea. The neshama has a thirst. I want Hashem. I have a longing. I want a deeper connection to Hashem. He's my fire. Is going to be an inclusion in there and save. Mamish. The immediate chapkeni, his right hand will embrace me. It's an embrace. There should be a revelation of Hashem, literally, on my soul with this thirst. Okay. As a result, Reuven is a love, which not just love, but it's a desire. As a result of being distant, it's a process that the neshama and the person goes through. They feel a bitterness that want to be closer to Hashem. It's not necessarily Averis, that's for sure. But even if there's no Averis, it's just my neshama is distant from Hashem. I'm thinking about the greatness of Hashem. I want more of Him. I want a deeper connection to, not more of Him. I want a deeper connection to Him, and that brings out the Ava. That's Ruvain. Time is up.
Powerful. Shema.
Thanks for joining. See you soon.
Thank you.